And NO2 dissolved in water is nitric acid. How do you transport ocean water to the mountaintops? How do you get rid of the salt on the way up from the salt sea? Well, what if you got water weighing 800 times as much as the atmosphere, but you have vapor under the sun, 1/8 the weight of the atmosphere, and the sun is not hot enough to vaporize the salt so it stays, and the clouds lose the heat over the land and drop the water back, and there the Lord sends you your rain, and somebody said it's natural processes. You're crazy. You're out of your mind. If the freezing temperature were lowered 5% below where it is, you'd have rain falling on you and freezing as soon as it hits you. Why, if the earth was even 10% closer to the sun than it is, the whole earth would burn up in less than 24 hours, and if the earth were 10% further away from the sun than it is, there'd be a glacial cap around the whole world. Now, what's the explanation for these things? Well, modern science has no explanation at all. They just hit or miss or guess. And every now and then they get against a terribly embarrassing problem like the whale. For surely as these animals came up out of the water and began to develop hind legs and lose their tails, according to Darwin, why would one then turn around and go back into the water and have his tail left to him, like a whale or a porpoise? And it's very embarrassing, old boy, and all that sort of rot, don't you know, when you consider the fact that the whale and the porpoise are mammals. They give suck to their young. The rest of the fish lay eggs. Tell me something. Who was the first whale that learned how to suckle its young without the young drowning? A mammal's an air breather. If you kept a porpoise on the water indefinitely, he'd drown. Now, there's so many of these questions that it would take another full-length book even to discuss them, and the short commentary in the book of Job, we're not going to have time to go into these things. We're going to close the account by simply saying that when God appears to Job in Job chapter 38 and 39 and 40 and 41, he puts questions to him that Darwin never even approached and didn't dare approach. And there's no answer for these matters. There isn't one man, I say without embarrassment or blushing, there isn't one man living or dead who could ever prove evolution was anything more than a cock and bull story. And the people who want to believe it have a religious hallucination, and the reason why they want to believe it, as a man said, is because it's the result of the brilliant speculation of pagan imagination. Man likes to think he's going up instead of down, and that's why espouses the ridiculous, stupid theory. Taught by A. Wolfe, John Asterisk, Royce, Erasmus Darwin, William Paley, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, Robert Chambers, Spencer, Rousseau, Darwin, Haeckel, Rousseau, Hobbes, Voltaire, Lessing, Schiller, Carlyle, James, Nietzsche, Tom Paine, Kant, Strauss, Schleiermacher, Richard Huxley, Schopenhauer, and the rest of the curriculum you're going to finish out this year. The fruits of evolution are the survival of the fittest. Every communist in the world is an evolutionist. You can't be a communist without being an evolutionist. Evolution is the religion of the Communist Party. Every communist is an idolater, and he's a religious fanatic. And his religion is based on the theory that if you take the thesis and the antithesis and put them together by revolution, you get the synthesis, and this is progress. This means every communist is a religious fanatic, and his religion is evolution. You can't be a communist without being an evolutionist, albeit you might be an evolutionist without being a communist. Then we have this great book in illustrations from nature here in Job chapter 38 and Job chapter 39, where the Lord puts it to Job in no uncertain terms, and he can't answer. There's no answer to it. On he goes, and in Job chapter 40, Job finally answers. Then Job answered the Lord and said, Behold, I am vile. What shall I answer thee? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth. Once have I spoken, but I will not answer, yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. The Bible says when the world stand before God, the whole world shall be guilty, and every mouth stopped. And this is where Job finds himself. Accosted by the Godhead, he can't answer. Then answered the Lord to Job out of the whirlwind and said, verse 7, Gird up thy loins now like a man. I will demand of thee and declare thou unto me. That's what he wanted. He'd been praying.